Make Believe Studios and Metric Halo have done it again. They have taken a piece of hardware that was a secret weapon used on some of the biggest songs in history, used by one of the biggest mix engineers, and now it's a plugin. And that plugin is the Mixhead, inspired by the SPL Machinehead, and it's kind of ridiculous and unfair. So we're gonna check that out. For those who do not know who I am, my name is David Sustaita. I'm a full-time mix engineer, producer, audio engineer, all that fun stuff. Might not be the biggest one, but we'll get there one day. And today we're talking about the new plugin from Make Believe Studios and Metric Halo called the Mixhead. And the Mixhead is modeled directly after the SPL Machinehead, which is probably one of the rarest pieces of gear out there now, honestly. You can't find them anywhere. And if you know someone who has one, you probably couldn't pry it off of their cold, dead hands. Well, that is until now that this plugin's out. I know some people who had them, and that thing is now collecting dust. Pretty much the SPL Machinehead is a digital tape emulator hardware unit. Pop it up on the screen. You've probably seen it. It's a red box. And if you haven't seen it, well, now you've seen it. And it's most notably used by Serban Ghenea, which if you don't know who that is, you should probably find out who that is before you continue watching this video. But he is one of the most heralded mix engineers of our time and arguably of all time. And his work speaks for itself. This has been a secret weapon on his mixes for probably a really long time. And my buddy Rick Carson over at Make Believe Studios, back when Clubhouse was a thing, we would all talk with all of our audio engineer nerd buddies. And one of the things that came up is Rick likes to look at pictures of producers or videos of other engineers and, you know, looking at the gear, looking at the racks and seeing, you know, what's in the pictures. And the red box intrigued him, and it led down a rabbit hole to where it's like, oh, that's the SPL Machinehead. And now all of a sudden here we are to where he was inspired enough to, you know, create this thing into a plugin for everybody to be able to use. So this super, super, super rare, pretty much unobtainable piece of gear is modeled so ridiculously accurate. And I don't have the hardware. I'm going based off of what other people who have the hardware who have said. But to me, it sounds phenomenal. And when we get into listening to it, you're gonna hear what I meant by saying that it's unfair. Because I was a beta tester, right? So I want to just clear the air with that. I was a beta tester, so I did have this before the public. To describe kind of how it sounds before we get into it, it's kind of like an anti-tape machine. Like what you would expect a tape machine to do, it kind of does the opposite. And you know how like some people will say like, oh, I want the analog warmth, bruh. But in reality, they really just want harmonic saturation in the top end and a top end sheen, which is pretty much the exact opposite of warmth. But you'll hear it when we get into the examples. And the three things that I want to showcase this to you guys on are, well, of course, the MIXBUS, because that's what this thing pretty much excels at the best and is the most logical place to put this at. I'm going to show it on vocals because on vocals, it's pretty amazing. The high frequency adjust knob is just so incredibly musical. And I'm also going to show it on overheads, and you're going to be able to really hear the characteristic of this thing. They could have called it the Luff's machine head or whatever, because you can get crap stupid loud with this. It's nonsense. It's musical, headroom's incredible. It makes things loud. What more do you want?
Me make thing loud, oonga boonga, turn on.
You can't really be mad at it. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into this, and I'm gonna show you what this thing can do, what it sounds like, and how dope it is. So we are here in the session, and this is a song called Retribution. That's an original that I actually wrote for my band. And shout out to Seth Munson for mastering the actual thing. But today we're just gonna be in the session that's just the mix, and I actually have the Mixhead already in here because I got to use it on this mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up here on the MIXBUS and show the settings that I already have. A quick overview, first of all, on the Mixhead is you have an input gain, you have a drive, a high frequency adjust, an output gain, a tape speed, and the active switch. So it's pretty straightforward for the most part. And you have all your parameters showcased right here on the left on this little screen. The tape speed you have between 30 IPS and 15 IPS, and then you also have a 3.75 IPS, which I forgot they actually added that. That's a new one that I haven't used yet. And on here, it's currently on one of my presets. The MSG setting goes on anything. So this setting in particular, the way that I have it set on the MIXBUS is very tame. This is a really tame one, which is why I called it MSG. You can actually put it on just about anything and it's not going to crap out. If you actually go to my name, David Sustaita, they'll be there. With the input gain, I'm driving it a little bit harder into it by giving it a 1.3 dB boost into the actual circuit. And instead I have the drive down by -6.9. The high frequency adjust is half a dB. This high frequency adjust is super musical. The output gain that I have here is +6 because I did -6 with the drive. So this setting is really good because you'll be able to hear what the actual box is kind of doing on its own without, you know, basically exasperating the level too much. So I'm going to go ahead and play it and I'm going to bypass and engage it for you to hear how it sounds just on the setting that is already here on the mix. So right now we're in. We're still in. Out. Yeah, so this setting is not super crazy. It's basically just giving everything a lift. The lows are saturating in a pretty nice way if you pay attention to the kick drum. It's kind of just doing what, you know, you would expect a saturator to kind of do on a kick, mixed with, you know, what you would expect that elasticiness from tape to kind of do to a kick. And that high frequency adjust just gives it a nice little lift in the top end. It brings the mix forward in a nice pleasing way and gels it together. It's like compressing and softening the transients at the same time as it's giving like this nice shimmer. It almost kind of reminds me of the Dolby trick, if you know what I'm talking about. This one, the drive is hitting a little bit harder. We have more on the high frequency adjust. And the tape speed, I believe, is different. This is a louder preset. I'll go back and forth between that one and the previous. You see how this one's a lot more tame? Yeah, on this one, you hear the unit working a little bit more. And going back to it, honestly, if I didn't already pass this, I might actually probably have camped it here. You know, when you first get a plugin, you want to put it through its paces. You really want to hear how it sounds. This is, I think, this was my initial approach to the plugin. And I saved it because I used it on the MIXBUS, but it was a bit heavy-handed. Things are starting to get a little crunchy, but it's a really cool vibe. And I'm going to play it back on this same part here. So I'm gonna go in and out. Lux. Yeah, that's not transparent at all, but it sounds freaking sick. One last preset I want to show you that is not mine. It's actually the man himself, Serban Ghenea, SG the one, and look what happens when you use this preset. It turns gold! Fun fact, Rick had us, as the beta testers, try to figure out what the actual settings were for this, and like, they had to give us so many hints before anybody got it. And well, now it's a setting for everybody to have, but we had our fun trying to figure this one out. Just looking at this setting, it makes a lot of sense. You know, dial the input gain back a little bit, and you compensate with the drive and the high frequency adjust. It just does such a good job at tying everything together without getting rid of your transients, without completely hijacking what you've done unless you want it to. It's good at retaining punch, in my opinion, at least audibly. Like it feels punchy. It doesn't feel gooey the way you would expect a tape machine to, which is why, you know, the whole anti-tape machine thing was said. That, and I mean, the tape speed between the 15 and the 30 is actually dirtier. So I'm going to go back to that heavy-handed preset really quick and show you what I mean. Because the moment I turn it to 30, you're going to start hearing things start to distort. I'm going to go back to a pretty busy part in the song over here. I'm going to put on 30. Yeah, like the total harmonic distortion in the low end is pretty exasperated. It's not quite crapping out, but it adds a pretty gritty texture that you wouldn't initially expect from, you know, like a 30 IPS thing. You would kind of expect it to be a bit cleaner, but it's not, which it's kind of cool. If you want to add some aggression, the 30 IPS is sick. I wanted to spend most of the time here on the MIXBUS and showcasing what it sounds like on the MIXBUS, because that's where this is most likely going to live. But one of the coolest things I found is really putting this on vocals, actually. If you guys are liking what you see so far, please like and subscribe. I love for new people to be in contact with me here and just comment and have a nice little community to where we just nerd out about the audio stuff. So if you're digging all this stuff, just drop a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it'll help someone small like me grow. So thanks. So we have the lead vocal here, and I already have actually the MB Mixhead on here already, which would make sense because I had it available to me. So on here, I'm not doing anything to the input gain or the output gain, and I'm kind of cranking the drive and the high frequency adjust. So I want to get that harmonic saturation, and I want what the high frequency adjust is doing and opting for that as opposed to a high shelf, because I'm looking here at my EQ for vocals, and this is the only EQ I have going on vocals. The Sontech's on there too. Shout out Sontech. But I'm getting pretty much my top shelf from the high frequency adjust here. I'm gonna bypass this.
Nothing can't be found. It's like I'm 6 feet underground, running inside my head. So will you save the day, or will I?
The beauty of this being a plugin is now you can put this dang thing on vocals. Like this, that just sounds amazing.
I'm lost and can't be found. It's like I'm 6 feet underground, running inside my head. So will you save the day, or will I?
The way it just compresses the sound with the drive, like the way that the drive circuit is compressing, and the way that the high frequency adjust is technically compressing with the softening of the transients and all that. It's a really beautiful concoction together, especially on vocals. This is something that's probably going to live on all of my vocals. And I actually used it in the opposite way on the dubs. I didn't want all of that top end. So actually here on the dub master, I have -5 high frequency adjust. So you're going to hear what high frequency adjust sounds like if you turn it down. And it's actually really nice.
I'm lost and can't be found. It's like I'm 6 feet underground, rotting inside my head. So
like, let's loop that little section right there with the little harsh S's.
rotting inside my head.
And then we'll engage it.
Rotting inside my head. So
You see what that does? Like the high frequency adjust, just like, it doesn't take away all of the presence, but you know, it shaves the edge off just a little bit in a really nice musical and pleasing way that doesn't sound super lo-fi. And this is -5, so that's pretty substantial. You know, my thought process, at least on this mix, was I don't want the sibilance and the top end of the doubles to be getting in the way of the lead vocal in the chorus. So what I'm gonna do is actually have all of the chorus vocals here playing for you, and I'm gonna engage and disengage all of the mix heads. So this is in.
I'm lost and can't be found. It's like I'm 6 feet underground.
Out.
I'm lost and can't be found. It's like I'm 6 feet underground.
Put it back in.
I'm lost and can't be found. It's like I'm 6 feet underground.
That's just absolute money, dude. And last thing I want to show this on really quick are the overheads. And I'm going to play this back. And we're just going to start adjusting. You see how musical that is with the cymbals? Like, I'm not mad at that. That it's too much, but it also sounds really good. There's just something about this high frequency adjust that's very, very tasteful. It's not like all of the other high frequency type, EQs or harmonic saturators. There's something really special about what this is doing that's just very sweet to the ear. If you take this down, that's an argument that could be made for a particular sound. Like, that doesn't sound bad. I can immediately hear that in a context that might make more sense. And that's just the difference between going positive on the high frequency adjust and going negative on the high frequency adjust. It's just a really musical knob. It's probably my favorite thing on this unit. I'll showcase a little bit more of what this can do on the full drum bus here, so you can hear more of what it does to the lows. This is stock. Let's crank the drive. You see what it does to the kick? It gives it that nice thwack and that nice, like, super compressed cardboardy thing. But obviously this is too much. This is way too much. But you can start to hear the characteristic of what it's doing to something like a kick drum. So let's dial back the input gain. Like, that's a pretty nice compromise if you wanted this to be pretty heavy-handed, I think. It's just super punchy. Like, using this thing, it doesn't smooth things out. It's just very punchy, and you can make this thing sound really aggressive. And when you dial it in, like, how Serban's preset is, you can make it sound really sweet. So there's a lot of versatility in this plugin, and I'm really excited to have it, and I think that anybody who gets this is going to be super, super happy. And right now it's on sale. I think all of Make-Believe's plugins with Metric Halo are 40% off. I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting any money for any of this. I just really believe in, what they're doing. They're doing an incredible job, and they break the internet every single time they drop something. They're my friends, but these are my true thoughts, and you heard it for yourself. So go ahead and pick it up. I think it's like $99 right now. You can have a sound like that for $99, and it's a cheat on your MIXBUS. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you guys made it this far, please give me a like and subscribe. If you're new here, if you liked what this was like, I'm gonna try to be more consistent. It's really hard when you actually do this, and then have a family and all that stuff. But for those who tuned in and stayed all the way, I thank you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one.